It was a bittersweet season, being on the outside looking in, and all I wanted was to be in it with the team. I had to put my pride aside and just watch it unfold. I'm proud and inspired by this squad's growth and effort this year. And it should be pointed out, he has made an extraordinary effort to say and do all of the right things. And so, Shefty, I think it is a reasonable question as we look forward to ask you what the future looks like, and as you see it, for Odell in Cleveland.
Well, I think he makes that team more dangerous if and when he comes back in the future, and I think that's what the team would like to do. Now we'll see how the offseason plays out. There are always so many things that happen in an offseason, and we're looking for answers, but can you imagine how much more dynamic this team might have been on offense had it had Odell Beckham as a weapon out there? It did not. It made its living off its run game, its offensive line, with Jarvis Landry making some big plays. Now the salary cap is going to go down here. And the interesting part will be, do they need Odell to restructure? How do they handle that? Again, these are questions for the offseason that we're looking for answers on January 20th before the organization has had substantial conversations about it right now. But to me, he would make the offense that much more dangerous.
Okay, and so, look, that makes sense, Dominique. You look at an offense, they're good. You add a really good player, they should get better. Is it as simple as that? Because sometimes in life we know it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it appears that they got better when they subtracted him. I'm not one who believes that you get better by getting rid of good players, but I can imagine in that front office and in that coaching room, they feel like they can, well, not they feel like, they saw that they can thrive without him. So given his cap hit, I think is 6 amongst receivers next year, that's going to be a hard or a big cap hit for a player that you have figured out a way to succeed without him. So they might be able to, it won't be very hard for them to convince themselves that they can survive without Odell Beckham. Maybe they'd be better off with whatever players or draft picks they could bring back from moving Odell Beckham. I personally think he's still one of the best receivers in the game and think they should figure out how to use him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they figured out how to move him.
How good he is, yeah, I think that's about the way a lot of people are looking at it. Look, how good he is not in question. But D. Wood, right, there is, you know this, there is some narrative that people will say the quarterback sort of came into his own and was able to be the leader of that team better when Odell was no longer there. What do you think of that thought?
Well, I mean, listen, we did see the maturity of Baker Mayfield all throughout the year. There's no question about that, from his leadership to his play, just the calm and collectiveness that he showed, particularly down the stretch in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield shows some absolute growth. But listen, I agree with Dominic and Adam. Odell Beckham Jr. brings a different element to that offense that they don't have. And yes, they had one of the most dominant rushing attacks in the league, but the explosiveness on the outside would make a Jarvis Landry even more effective in some of the other parts that they have on offense. So I know, the salary cap is going down, but if they can figure out a way to, make all these parts work together, I think the Cleveland Browns are better off with it.
There was this feeling, though, D. Wood, and I saw you sent a note about this last night, that maybe Baker felt pressure to force feed the football to Odell. Do you think that after the successful season he had this year, that would continue to be a problem?
No, I don't, because I just think that just the growth of Baker Mayfield, his maturity. And I do think, when Odell first came over, there was, so much talk. And, sometimes you feel like you have to force feed a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who's a, star in the National Football League. But as we saw this year with Baker Mayfield, his ability to distribute the football and play calm under intense pressure made him a better quarterback this year. So when Odell Beckham comes back, and if he's still on this team, I think the transition will be even better because I think the growth from the quarterback.
And so, Shefty, let's finish it by going back to where you started it, which is, when do decisions like this get made? Whether we're talking about this one or general ones, like the free agency period starts in March. Teams, we talked about it earlier, are going to be looking for receivers. You see what Stephon Diggs, the impact he made, the impact DeAndre Hopkins made. Teams out there will be looking for receivers. When do these decisions start getting made by organizations?
Well, Greeny, I remember being at the Combine last year and having somebody tell me there, you need to watch Stephon Diggs get traded this year in the offseason. And Minnesota denied that and said, no, we're not looking to move on, while it was quietly having conversations. Again, the Browns season just ended on Sunday at Kansas City, narrowly. So I'm sure they're doing some exit interviews, going over some instructions for some offseason plans. They'll give everybody some time off. It's been a long, hard year on everybody. And I think at that point in time, once they reassemble in February, begin to sit down and go over the personnel and where they want to go in the offseason, they'll have those conversations. I think the front office is thinking about the ways it needs to get down under the salary cap, the moves it needs to make, but those conversations, I don't believe, have occurred yet.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.